Hey, so today we have a really special guest. Are you ready? Welcome to the Saymichael podcast. What up, what up, what up? Welcome to the Saymichael podcast, one man's attempt at business, family, and comedy. You already know who this is. I am your host, Michael Aigbedion. And look, before we continue, I must introduce our special guest. Are you ready for my homegirl at the DMV, Whitney Danielle? Let's go. Let's go. We're talking about Whitney Danielle, also known as Whitney DC, also known as accountability and success mindset coach, also known as host of the podcast Network and Spill, also known as cybersecurity specialist, also known as a car lover. Yes, we are very similar in a lot of ways, but this girl you must listen to. Because right now on this pod, she's dropping gems. I'm talking about gems, give you goosebumps. These gems will give you goosebumps right now. You know what I'm talking about? So I really want y'all to enjoy this episode with my homegirl, soon to be your favorite, Whitney Danielle. Enjoy. Peace. What's going on? What's going on?
Hey, how's it going?
Finally, look. You know how long it's been since I've been waiting to talk to you? Because I'm like, look, I'm not going to reach out to you until we catch up on the pod because you're a very important person. And I want not only me to get to know you better, but I want my audience to get to know you better as well. But before we get to anything, how are you? How are you doing?
I'm chilling. I'm waiting for the warmer months, and sun. Winter it's been crazy. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I didn't get the winter storm like we got though. You know what I mean? Like I think y'all got a little of the cold, right?
I mean, it snowed here multiple times.
Well, okay. Before we even understand all that, where are you on the map? Please explain so we can understand this.
Yes, I am right outside of DC. So I'm in Northern Virginia. Yeah, in like the Dulles, right by the airport.
Dulles, like in Dallas. Like we in the same place?
With a U, not an A.
Ah, okay, let's go. Okay, so Dulles. Okay, is that kind of country town? What is that?
No. It's actually, this is, the DMV is very, I don't know, sophisticated a little bit. It's a little sophisticated. We're northern, so northern and southern, we definitely separate ourselves. We do not claim one another. We are separate entities within the same state. So we're a little bit
weird.
bougier.
I just learned what the DMV was from Clubhouse, which is where we met. I think, we met around the December time on Clubhouse, and I was just impressed by you. But I saw massive growth in and offline from Clubhouse. But when someone put DMV, I was like, what is DMV? And I'm guessing that's what is it?
It is not Department of Motor Vehicles. Just for the common knowledge here. No, It is DC, Maryland, Virginia.
DC, Maryland, Virginia.
We're like a little tri-state area.
Okay. So, as I know you're what you call a solopreneur, where you do some things in the security field, and then you're also an accountability coach and a success and mindset coach, right?
Correct.
Okay, this is where I'm super curious because, look, me as a business person, like, how do you help people like myself? Like, how does that work?
So, I mean, yeah, the coaching is fun. I definitely stumbled into that. It was not my intention to become a coach. It just happened. And over the years, like I've been at this for like 5 or 6 years now. And I just saw people doing lots of different types of coaching online and they were killing it. And a lot of them didn't seem to have like a lot going on for themselves. And I was like, okay, if if this chick can do it, like, I know I can monetize something on the internet. Like, there's just no way that she's going to make all this money as a health coach on the internet. So there's just no way. So I started off, and I didn't start off doing health coaching. It was more of a life coaching bit, but I realized that there were a lot of people like myself who have 9-to-5 jobs and are looking to build their business and grow and want to kind of shift out of that. And so I focus a lot on mindset, because my mindset kept me from making the big bucks for many years. Many years of my business. I just like could not get my mind wrapped around the fact that like I could actually do this and I could actually be successful at this.
Can you unpack that a little bit? Like, what was keeping you, what was holding, because you're saying that it was yourself who was holding you back, right? So what was it about yourself that was holding you back?
I mean, it was probably the biggest factor. So I think, for me, I grew up in a family that was very much, my dad was military and my mom was a civil engineer and then a teacher. And they just were like, yeah, you work, you have a job, you get your stable income, you have quality health insurance, and you keep it moving. Like, entrepreneurship just wasn't really something. I mean, my grandparents did it. They were very much entrepreneurs, or at least my grandparents' parents. So my great-grandparents had a business out in Massachusetts, actually. They had a storefront, and they did things, but it was just, we just weren't like entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And so when I was like, yeah, I want to do my own thing, my mom's like, yeah, but I mean, what about like consistent income? Like, what about health insurance? Like, what about this? What if something happens? What if something goes wrong? And so I just like fed into all of that and let those little seeds that she planted grow into like these huge oak trees. And then I was like, yeah, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if this will really work. And then I was watching so many other people make tons of money, and I was just like, yeah, I don't know.
So you felt like you were like on the sideline just watching people like do well and get rich. That's what you felt like.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And it was, it was very frustrating. And then I started realizing when I got into the nitty gritty of it that it was really about like my mindset and allowing this to happen for me. And, just realizing in my life when I really wanted something, I've absolutely done it and I've gotten it and it has worked out. And even when it didn't work out, something better worked out instead. And so when I was able to kind of get my mind around how to move through my day, believing in myself, believing in my business, believing in my future, believing in my dreams and goals and aspirations or whatever, things started to change.
Hold on. What did it take for that change to happen for you to kind of switch your mindset? Like, what was that? Like, were you reading? Or, I want to learn. What is that?
Yeah, I mean, it was reading. I'm big on personal development stuff. I'm kind of like obsessed with it. But it was also coaching, having certain coaches in my life who I was watching do it in front of me, and really listening to what they had to say. It was a lot of like woo-woo, like this kind of spiritual stuff, and like the law of attraction and really understanding like how my thoughts are so crucial to what I'm doing. It was journaling. It was just, being frustrated at times because I'm like, this person has no personality and they're out here in the internet, like killing it. Why is this like, it's just the frustration, there are a lot of factors. So
what made you choose, at least, was it that you went first with the mindset, or would you go with the accountability? Like how that happened?
I mean, like, I don't know which one came first, but they definitely were around the same time. I mean, for me, what I realized was that at one point I was just obsessed with getting knowledge and, absorbing information and doing all of the things. And because I was doing that, I was distracting myself. And also in the coaching industry, right? This is a business. And there were so many people who were trying to sell me strategy, but they weren't committed to seeing and making sure that I got to the end, which some would argue isn't their job. And so I would buy these programs and then nothing would happen. Like I wouldn't get results. I wouldn't make my money back. Like nothing would happen because there was no accountability to the end goal. And so part of that was my mindset, right? Not keeping myself accountable. And the other side of that was just, they were just trying to sell me some shit they did on the internet like 4 years ago and hoping that I would have the wherewithal to make it happen on my own and seeing what would happen, just like leaving me out to figure it out. So that's kind of where the accountability came in. I realized if I had it, I would have probably made it faster. I get it. So, because, I look at it sometimes when people start a business, I say, okay, it does depend on the mindset, but some people start businesses to make money and some people start business to solve a problem, which in the end makes you money. And then you saw it as, in your experience, you're going through all these things with like coaching, and then you weren't getting the results mainly because you weren't getting the accountability.
And then you incorporated that into your program personally, right? So tell me,
Absolutely.
Here's a curious question. Because you're talking about Clubhouse a little bit. Clubhouse, you know, when it comes to coaches, sometimes it could get a little scammy. You know what I mean? Like, how does that, you know, like being even associated in that type of like world a little bit, like how does it work with you and how you navigate through that? Because in my personal opinion, you know, I feel like some people sometimes either try to leech on to those who don't know, you know, and I feel like a lot of it has to do with like, you know, when you get sick and your body has like creates like antibodies to protect you against that virus. Well, a lot of the particular scammy coaches on Clubhouse look for people who don't have those antibodies yet, you know, to like leech onto them and get them into their funnel. So how do you view coaches like that do stuff like that on Clubhouse, and how does that kind of work with what you do?
Well, I mean, there's going to be scammers everywhere. There's scammers on Instagram, there's scammers on Twitter, there's scammers on Facebook, there's scammers in every Facebook group to the most part. So it's like you can't outrun the scammers. You know, they will find you. They will find you, and they thrive on, you know, social media platforms, and to your point, they thrive on people who don't know. And so, yeah, it happens. It's the same thing that happens in every single industry. And real estate comes up for me. You hear a lot of people talking about how they can help you with the real estate and help you get your money right so you can buy property, and I flip and I do and I blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay. And they do it, right? They do it. They scam people just like anybody. I mean, there's so many different scams, even like with hair, right? You see a lot. That was a big thing on Instagram for a long time, right? The hair weave, the hair extension industry got hit pretty hard. And I do have feelings about that, but you know, they were there, and there's still so many companies out here who are in the hair industry who are thriving. And so it's like there are always going to be the weeds in the flower bin, and you're just going to have to navigate through that. And I think as you become a savvy buyer, and when you're around the right people, you'll get connected to the right folks. And that's really the power of community and the power of referrals, you know, leaning on your friends and saying, look, I need this kind of support, and then seeing who they send you versus scrolling the internet at 2:00 in the morning, stumbling upon somebody's Instagram ad or Facebook ad, and then going down this spiral, this rabbit hole. And next thing you know, you're buying a product for, you know, $1,700 or even $17.
Yeah.
You know? You've got to be a smart buyer, and you have to watch out and be careful.
Yeah, and is it even hard for you to navigate who you to associate with, so you don't get caught up in those? Not that you'll be caught up in it, but you could be associated by, like, I wouldn't say by default, by being on the wrong stage or being next to the wrong person who might make a wrong move one way or the other, right?
You know, I haven't had that experience.
Okay,
yet.
good. Oh, okay.
Only because I think, you know, you attract certain people into your life, and not to say that it's people's fault when they come across scam artists or, you know, low vibe or, you know, weird people. But I just have not done that. So far, I haven't communicated or really dealt with tons of scammy people or people who are out here doing things for the wrong reason. And you know what I mean? Like, that just hasn't been my experience, but I know it does happen. But I think, you know, I'm a solopreneur, right? It's me. So I'm representing myself. Anybody that I do business with is, you know, you have, just like they say, right, when they work for these networks, you know, any thoughts and views expressed on this account are mine and not, you know, CBS or whoever the company is they work for. It's the same thing. I may have someone on my podcast show who turns out to be X, Y, and Z, but that's on them, right? They were a guest on my show, right? They were a guest in my home. That doesn't mean that my home is tainted or
I get that.
my, you know what I mean? Like, it's not. We're two separate entities, my friend. We are not on the same. We're not in the same tax form or anything like that.
I love it because you've been doing this, you said 5-6 years? And, you know, you kind of touched on a little bit about supporters. Okay, how, like, now that you've gotten into it, when you said, talked about your mom saying, how about this, how about that, how about that? Has she came around yet, or is she still kind of skeptical?
No, I mean, she, when I first started my podcast show, I had a show first for a little bit, and then I started Network and Spill. And when she heard the show, first she was like, you curse too much. And I was like, okay, Mom, Thanks.
They're your biggest critic,
We
man.
know.
Yeah.
My dad loved it though. He was like, "This is great," and I was so funny because I wasn't expecting that, and I will tell you, my dad is one of the like biggest listeners on my show, and he loves listening. He's like, "Hey, Whitney, yeah, remember when you had that one lady on there, and then she said that story about that one thing and that one time," and
Oh,
I'm
I
like,
love that.
"Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that." Like he listens like that, and I love that. But yeah, I mean, my mom has been once she saw me, kind of in the zone, she was like, okay, cool, this is what you want to do. Like, I see this happening for you. And then she just became more understanding of the industry and just like people are doing this and it's a real thing. And people are doing weird things for money. And I think because she watches the news, right, she sees people are doing weirder things for money and that it's completely possible. So now she's like, it'll happen.
Are you finding haters too within all this?
Of course, yeah.
Any bad experiences, or is it kind of all been light?
So, I mean, I've had I've had two. So I had somebody close to me who basically, when I first kind of started, I was getting going, like getting some momentum. They kind of questioned my credentials or like who I was and was like, can you really, like, who are you to do this?
Was this a person you knew?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
very closely. And she was like, who are you to do this? Like, who do you think you are? And I was like, we met, we had to have that conversation, but it was, it was really rude. And it was definitely something that like hurt, it hurt for a while because it just wasn't something that you say to someone who's kind of on a journey to go find their purpose in life. And then the other thing was, this isn't necessarily bad, but I've had two people actually say, well, like, how can you really make money coaching though? Like how do you see what you just like get people to pay you? Like, how does it work? Like, they're genuinely confused. And I'm just like, and I had someone from actually when I was at Howard who reached out and we like reconnected or whatever. And she was like, yeah, so like, what are you up to? And this and this. And she was like, oh yeah. So you really do that? Like, it's like people are paying you, like you make money doing that? And she was so perplexed. And I'm like, y'all, this is difficult, like, to understand. Go to the website, girl. Like, it's not, people do this. And then one of my really good friends who actually now makes money online, right? She's become an entrepreneur. No, there's another person too. All these women have been like, I don't understand how you're making
it's y'all's
money.
time right now. Like, oh my Lord. It's
crazy. None of them understood how I could charge money for things and that this was a real lucrative thing. I guess it was like this like thing they thought about. And they're like, oh yeah, I see people doing it, but like I don't know anybody doing it. And then they find me and they're like, Whitney, so how does this work? Like, this isn't like I couldn't do that. Like, I couldn't do that because no one would pay me to do that. And it became this whole thing. So
that first friend that you mentioned, I don't want to get too personal, but I must ask, are y'all still friends or?
Yes. I mean, it was a family member. So
it was a family member. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
did y'all heal from that, or what happened that kind of, maybe did you get over it, or what was it?
I mean, yeah, I guess you get over it and you move on, and then you just let the receipts speak for themselves, right? And it's, people think that they're in competition with you, and a lot of times it's just not the case. We're all kind of doing our own thing, and we're, even when you look at highways, when you think of staying in your lane, sometimes when you're in a highway, you see highways and they split off and they go different directions. Some of them loop around, some of them go this way, some of them go under a tunnel, some of them go over the tunnel. Like, we're all kind of doing our own thing. So you can stay in your lane, I will stay in my lane, and we'll see what happens.
I love that, man. Let me go horns real quick. Let me drop that bomb real quick. Okay, so 5-6 years you've been doing this, but then you also been doing that while maintaining a full-time, right? So
yes.
What space are you in, and how do those compete? Like, how do you balance that out?
It's interesting. So yeah, I've been really lucky in that I have attracted jobs that paid me a decent amount. A nice amount, because I'm in the industry I'm in. That helps too, right? I'm in cybersecurity, I'm in IT, and so those are industries where they pay you handsomely. So I feel like I've been really lucky and blessed in that I've had jobs who pay me a lot and who don't require a ton of my mental capacity. Whether that is, it's fairly simple as far as it's simple to me at least. as far as the workload, and it's work that I can leave at the office. It's not work that I take home, which I think is another blessing, because there are so many jobs that you take with you wherever you go. And I've been lucky. I've been really lucky to have jobs. And now that I'm remote, it's nice because I don't have to commute for 2 hours every day, and I don't have to be in, in-person meetings all the time, which was really taxing. And I can do so many things for my business now that I couldn't before, and I have more time.
So how did you get into, is that something you chose early on, like, or did you kind of like stumble upon like cybersecurity? Because I know that's like super popping right now. So did you just see it early, or what was it?
I've been in IT from the jump. So when I went to Howard, I actually went to Howard with the intention of becoming like an automotive designer. I've been obsessed with cars since I was a kid, and I was like, I'm going to do automotive design. And they're like, well, Whitney, you'll make more money as an engineer. And I was like, all right, bet. So I went in as a mechanical engineer, realized I hated math. Math hated me. And I didn't want to build a car. I didn't want to build something. That wasn't what I went in this for. And so I switched my major to design, but then Howard's design school was okay, but their engineering was way better. So I switched to another school. I went to George Mason to get my the rest of my degree. So I kind of did half my time at Howard, half at GMU. And I got in. My goal was to work at Nissan. I wanted to work at Nissan. However, I graduated from college when the automotive industry was completely tanking, and it was miserable. And I was a chicken at the time. I was nervous to move west, which is where a lot of the automotive manufacturing like companies had, headquarters and stuff where the designers are. And so I was like, all right, well, and I definitely didn't want to go to Michigan because it's too cold. So I was like, all right, well, what am I going to do? And luckily, Volkswagen and Audi of America moved or created a location here in Virginia. And so I got a job there as a contractor because I had dealership experience. While I was at Howard, I worked for Nissan at a dealership, and I was doing like selling cars, and I was doing all kinds of admin for them. And I had a great time working there. And I worked at the auto shows, which was like a dream of mine. And I get into Audi Volkswagen, and they have me doing basically like IT work, kind of. Like I was helping to run their company car program. And so when you're an employee, you get a car. Everybody gets a car. I mean, you pay for it, but they have these company car programs. And so I helped manage that. And they were going from a paper version of doing it to an online version. So I was essentially helping them run this online tool where they can order vehicles. And so I became this like IT person because I'm dealing with these like old German people who need to order vehicles, and obviously they're employees who don't know what they're doing. And so I got into IT essentially that way. And then it kind of blossomed. I worked for the DEA, and I was doing tech support for them, and then all kinds of BlackBerry and Apple management stuff for them, and then it just kind of kept spiraling and spiraling.
Are you still in the car industry now with cybersecurity, or are you in a...
No, I'm in the financial industry now. I've worked for the government, like I said, the DEA, and then I worked for DHS. So I've done a lot of government work, and then I've worked for, a bunch of different companies as a contractor, but now I'm working for a financial firm. And my car stuff
do you like it? Do you like, I know you like the working from home and the different changes, but do you particularly like fintech versus working in the automotive industry, or?
I mean, there are pros and cons. I mean, I think right now where I'm at in life, getting more financially savvy and being more smart about just money in general has been a top priority of mine. For me, cars is a hobby as well. So I don't necessarily need it as a job. When I go to car shows, I have car friends, I go to car meets, I'm involved in the community. And now that for me, Virginia has been one of the strongest automotive communities I've seen. Even though I was on the West Coast in San Diego, I found that the guys out here, they love to do stuff. And so there's a lot more going on here than I felt in other places I've lived. So I'm chilling. It is a cool industry.
We're going to call you second income shouty, because now you got two incomes, right? Or is it, how many multiple incomes do you have? Like, that's a really good question.
I mean, right now I just have the two.
So do you look at that and say, okay, because I know since you love cars, is there like a dream car in your like vision board, or like that you know that you're gonna get? Like, tell me what that is. Because is that even a tangible goal? Like, is that like a respectable goal, or is it that you have different type of goals, like happiness versus like a car or something? Or
No, I have a fleet. My goal is to have a fleet. I don't know if you've ever seen Jay Leno's garage, but my goal is to
yes,
have like a Jay Leno garage. Like that's my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal. A lot of people love shoes and purses and, you know, dresses and makeup. I will tell you, like, it's the cars for me. And I've got a number. I right now I need an SUV because I just got a German Shepherd who's probably going to be like 90 pounds. And so she can't fit in my two-seater. So I have to get a car with a back seat, which I haven't driven a car with a back seat since 2009.
wow.
Yeah. So I got to do that. And
So you like
then
coupes? Like this is like you're
I
thinking
do.
are coupes? Okay.
I mean, that's the that's the lifestyle that I've been pushing. So yeah, it works for me. But I also this past weekend I had been specking out this old Datsun. This is like 280.
Ooh, fire! I got
Yeah,
a fire Datsun to show you. I'm gonna actually post it up here. I want to. Yeah, continue.
that's on my list. And I was looking at it this weekend. And actually today, I don't know when this is going to air, but they leaked photos of the new 400Z. And so I'm not sold yet on the new Z. The new Nissan Z. I'm not sold yet, but the Datsun, the 280, I really want to build one. Or I'm not going to build it. Someone else is going to build it, but I want to help design all of it. So that's something that's on my list too.
Why Nissan though? What made you when you said you wanted to choose Nissan? What was it about Nissan?
I mean, I just like Japanese cars. I like, I mean, I've always been in love with the Z, and there are certain cars, I wasn't into German cars for a long time. Like, I just didn't see the appeal. There were some American cars that I liked, I guess, but they just felt very common. And I felt like some of the Japanese cars that were out just gave you that, you know? I mean, Toyota has had the Supra. It's just like there are certain cars that just like really stuck with me. And yeah, I don't know. It's just
Are you a fan of the G Wagon or?
I have liked the G-Wagon since I was in high school. This was before the Kardashians had them, before any basketball player was flaunting one. And like I've really liked it, even though, because at first it was a joke. Because if you guys know the G-Wagon, you know that it has like zero gas mileage. Like
Yeah.
it is in the single digits. And my car right now is like 1924, but this is like 915, like 9 miles per gallon for city, and like it is bad. It
Yeah.
is bad. And so that was always a joke. I was like, wow, look at this car. It costs all this money, and the gas mileage is trash. People actually buy this. And then it was like, well, I kind of like it. And then it became, yeah. So I'm definitely getting one.
I don't know if this is like the thing you heard about. I don't know if you saw it. I see it through memes all the time where they said that the reason why successful people or business owners buy like G Wagons and Fords is based on this like 729 tax loop where the weight of the vehicle, because of the size, that you could write it off the complete cost in the entire year. You heard stuff like that?
I haven't heard that. The thing I've heard the most is the G-Wagon is made for tall people, because it is a German car. And so there's a ton of room. And so that's one of the reasons why a lot of the athletes liked it, because it was one of the cars that fit them the easiest. You know, tall
That's
people,
interesting. Yeah.
Tall people, like big, you know, linebacker type folks, they can't fit into a car like mine. Like, they don't fit into coupes. It's just not even worth trying. So yeah, the SUVs really worked well for them. That's one of the reasons why I think it got super popular too.
So with your business, do you have a goal of where you're trying to like take it to? Like where are your goals when it comes to, you know, maybe you can incorporate your business goals or maybe like your personal goals. Like how does it work towards going in that direction?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously getting rid of the full-time job will be great, because then I'll have even more time to do whatever. I think because of COVID, it's been a little crappy where I haven't been able to go and do as much. I'm typically a very active person, and I love being out and about, happy hours and, you know, conferences and retreats. And so my goal is to be speaking a lot more. I'd love to speak a lot more. It's fun to speak on Clubhouse, but it would be even more fun to speak on a real stage in front of live in-person people, making a difference doing that. So I think speaking gigs, retreats, doing my coaching in a different way. Having mastermind groups is something I'm really working towards. So I've got, a small group of women that I have in a mastermind, and we're working towards things. It's very aggressive towards, moving towards our goals and stuff like that, getting massive results. And the podcast.
Wow, that gives me goosebumps. Because, like women right now are like I just hired one of my executive assistants, right? And, it's a Black woman. And it's about investing in the right people who are going, like, literally, it's like the best it's just the best ever. And I see how y'all are coming around the number one group of people in America that are like going to entrepreneurship, business ownership, and literally in every field. It's like crazy. So I'm sure you're finding, because y'all get so much, y'all have such a strong community where men don't have any type of community really. Like, you have to really claw teeth or like really fight to get a single group of like 4 people to get along. But I see you all, as far as when I say you all, I'm talking about Black women, just come together and just champion each other. Like, is that, like, I know you'd have the Black Girls Do, right? I'm not sure if we could even talk about that, but can you talk about that? Is that all good?
I think so, yeah.
So that's where you found a lot of your growth, particularly on Clubhouse, right?
I mean, yeah, you can say that, because I met Leah, and who is the founder of Black Girls Do, and she's in the DMV areas too. She's in the Maryland part, and she started Black Girls Do in person, as an in-person type event thing. I think in 2014 I can't remember when she started it, but she turned it into Clubhouse, right, to a virtual experience. And I just happened to come across her, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, how can I help you? And she was like, oh, well, and then I started moderating literally like randomly. It was never on purpose. And I was like, okay, this is cool. And then she's like, Whitney, you're kind of good at this. And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm kind of good at this. And I was like, this is kind of fun. And then it turned into this whole thing where now I'm like a lead moderator for her and within this group, and I moderate rooms. And I realized it's definitely one of my strong suits, being able to moderate these kind of conversations. But that's where the growth came from, is her group has like, I don't know, maybe 30,000 people in it now. Wow. And it's one of the top, I think she was in a list last week where she's like one of the top 10 groups on Clubhouse for either Black women, or I don't remember what the name of the list was, but she's doing big things with this group. And yeah, it's been really fun. So, it's called Black Girls Do. I'm assuming for a good reason, because one time I hit the room, like I said, I wanted my wife. I was like, look, I've never seen Whitney in this room, but let me hop in real quick. There was 100% women. And the moment I walked in, y'all were saying something about like menstrual cycles. I was like, oh my God, I look like a creep. I had to leave this room immediately. So tell me, like, how does it work? Like, how does it help you, and how do you help others in Black Girls Do? Well, I mean, just holding space is probably the biggest thing that I do for Black Girls Do in those rooms. And I also run a room on Sundays, which is all about accountability. So that's kind of a cool room where Leah has essentially given me a platform to say what's going on and to get my own clients. I've been able to boost my lists from her accountability room, because that's my space. I get on there, I'm the lead moderator, and I'm like, hey guys, come in, text me, let me know what you're working on this week. Let's set the week up for success. Let's do blah, 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 blah. And it really works. And then the connecting room too. We have a room on Thursdays where we connect over morning coffee. And that's like a huge space where we love to have women come in and talk about, who they need to connect with. Like you were saying, how can you get those 4 women to kind of be in your social circle to support each other? It is not as easy as it looks. And I think we do a better job now of rah-rahing for each other, but there's a difference between rah-rahing and actually showing up, and actually pulling up. There's a difference. Because I can cheerlead you on, like, yeah, go, Michael, go, this is great. Yeah. Versus like me showing up when something bad happens in your business, or when you decide that you need a web designer, or when you decide you want to do something, I'm actually supporting you, like with my actual tools, right? My actual person. How can I support? And so that's kind of what we've been doing a little bit in that room specifically, and also throughout.
So it's like showing up before it's too late, right? Like, it's preventative measures to helping people along the journey. But then you mentioned about holding space. Can you kind of like expound on that a little bit? Because has it is there not a safe space for women to be their full selves? Like, can you help me understand that?
I mean, there's really not always. I think sometimes people make it seem like there's a safe space, but in reality, people have their own motives, right? Their own goals and aspirations, and that's their focus. I was watching something, I was watching this show called In the Dark on Netflix, and I guess the drug lord lady was like, to the girl, she was like, you are holding so much to these people in your social circle, but you're failing to realize that people are mainly out here for themselves, and that's their focus. They're going to take care of them first. And it was really interesting, and I get that perspective, but at the same time, it's like there's a time and a space to kind of look out for you and to be focused on you, right? Mm-hmm. You should be your number one priority. That's right, but there is something to be said about there being a very second top priority. And for me, holding space is important. We have women who go through stuff. We're in the middle of a pandemic, even though people in, Texas specifically are acting like we're not. We are, right?
Yeah.
People are struggling, and they have been for a really long time, and they will for a while after this. So how can we show up and actually hold honest space for each other? It's important, and it doesn't always happen.
So when you say honest, how honest can you get? Because, with men, a lot of times what gets in our way is our egos. So it's very difficult for men to let go of their ego in order to find growth, right? It's like a self-awareness issue. Is that the same thing when it comes to you helping other women? Or is it not ego? Okay, let me maybe make it more specific. When it comes to the mindset that holds people back, what is it? For men, I think it's ego. I feel like it's a lot of ego. Is it the same for women, or is it something different that holds most women back?
I think for women, it's a lot of times imposter syndrome. I think that's a big thing that comes up, them just not believing in themselves, or believing that it's possible, or believing that someone will hold them down, or believing that it'll work, or believing that people will buy. It tends to be the belief system. At least that's what I've seen. I've seen mainly people who struggle because they just aren't sure, and they're waiting for permission. They're waiting for someone to say, no, you should do that, and kind of give them that push, or give them that nudge, or give them that support that they need. Because, as Black women, we tend to do a lot of shit by ourselves. And so we're just walking along, doing things ourselves, because if we don't do it, who's going to do it? And unfortunately, when it comes to taking a chance or taking a leap or going down an unknown street, it can be very, very daunting. And so these strong Black women that you're used to seeing low key are at home twiddling their thumbs like, I don't know if this is a good idea. Like, I'm not sure. Or they're waiting, and they're waiting for the right opportunity. They're waiting for the next, course to drop, or the next book to come out, or the next conference, or they're waiting for someone to tell them that they should go do it. And that tends to be what I see as the main issue.
So what separates people from those who do and those who don't? Like, what creates that type of mindset? Like, is it like upbringing? Is it society? Is it a little bit of both? Like, what is that?
That's like the best question. I think what separates people from doing and from not doing is typically the motive, and that motivation. The motive can go two ways. Motive as in an actual motive as in their reason, and then the motivation is in what's going to get them actually moving. That tends to be what I think happens. And so for me, when I have not done the thing, it's because I was, confused. Like I said, something from that realm of not believing or not knowing or waiting for permission. But also because I didn't have clarity. I know for me personally, if I'm not clear on something, it's going to be weird. It's just going to get weird. Yeah. And I think that happens in life, right? When we're not clear, even in a relationship, when things are unclear and they're a little murky, it can go either way. And when it can go either way, like, why do it? It's like, let's just chill. That tends to be what happens.
So have you had any type of like triumphant, whether in your own coaching business or whether it's been in your experience in sharing stages, whether in online or offline, certain like triumphant stories that kind of stick out to you with like someone like getting out of their own way and finally like seizing what's theirs?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many of those stories. I think a lot of times we have to learn how to listen to our intuition, because we get these little nuggets or we get these little whispers or hints along the way, and we don't always pick them up. And so, like, imagine when you're walking in the mall and you see, like, a dollar bill on the floor, and you're like, no, I'm just going to keep walking. I'm not going to touch it. And then you keep walking and you see, like, a $5 bill, and you're like, well, I mean, that looks kind of cool. And you're like, okay. And then you're just, like, collecting all these little things, and you just put them in your pocket, right? Mm-hmm. Eventually, you're going to realize what's in your pocket and be like, oh, snap. I've got, like, $12,000 right here, right? What can I do with this? Yeah. And then the world opens up, and then you start actually figuring out what can you do and then going after it. So I think a lot of times we get those nudges. And so I have experienced that where I've gotten these little whispers of, you should do something audio based because, there's something going on with your voice. And I was like, because people would hit me up. I'd be in Walmart, like, looking for a card or something, and I'd be on the phone, and people would come up to me and be like, hey, are you from the radio or something? Like, I feel like I've heard your voice before. Like, you have, like, a radio. And I would be so creeped out. And then it just kept happening. And then it kept happening. And I was like, yo, please. And then someone was like, you need to start a podcast. I'm like, no, I'm not starting a podcast. Like, leave me alone. I'm blogging. I'm minding my business. And you should, too. And they're like, no, for real. And I was like, all right. And something happened. And because I was on Anchor like years and years ago before it was what it is now. Like, it used to just be this completely different platform. And I made tons of friends on there, and they would be like, Whitney, you should do this. And hey, can I pay you to do some voiceover work? And I was like, voiceover work? What? And they're like, hey, wow. I got a website. You should. And I was like, whatever. And I blew everybody off. I told everyone to kick rocks. And then eventually I had this thing where I was like, you know what? Screw it. Let's just try it. And so I did a ton of research, and I listened to a ton of shows, and I was like, all right, well, let me understand what the podcasting industry looks like before I just jump into this water. And I did a ton of R&D, which I like doing. And I figured out that, like, okay, I see a niche here. Let me try it. And so I started my show, and I have been going now for almost 3 years, and I love it. And it makes me very, very happy. And I have, to this day, I still get people who are like, Whitney, your voice, like, this is so dope. And I've done voiceover classes now, and, like, it's becoming a thing. So I don't know what the end goal is here, like if I actually do some really cool voiceover work, or if I start recording audiobooks, or if I start doing commercials, or whatever I do with it. But it is pretty cool to see how, like, you can listen to this, like, little nudge, and then it just keeps growing. And so that's just like,
no, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
When did you realize the power? Was it other people who brought to you the power in your own voice, or did you always have some little inkling since you've been young about the power of your voice?
So do you remember those little voicemail message thingies we used to have in our houses where you could answering machine? Yeah. That's what it was called. So at one point I was the only person in the house who knew how to properly set up that. Like, all the electronics I handled from like age like 6, maybe before then. Like, I had all of the electronics, like, I'll do it. And we had an answering machine, and I remember like setting it up for my parents and doing all this. And now I'm seeing the coordination between like my IT work now and like me like managing all the IT back in the day. But I remember hearing myself on the voicemail thing and being like, yo, gross. Like, that's me. And it was such a shock to hear myself on the answering machine. Like, I thought I sounded like a mouse. I hated the sound of my voice. And that stayed with me for a really long time. But even that memory, right, is so powerful that clearly that could have been interpreted.
Hold on, what age was that when you were recording?
I was probably 6 or 7 because I was living at the time. We're a military. Okay. We're a military family, so I remember that was in a house in New York. I would think we were in New York at that time, so I had to have been like 6. So yeah, I heard myself and I was like, bro, this is weird. This is weird that I can hear. I had never heard myself before, and so I just kind of blew it off. But then it became a little bit of what people were saying, and then I would get on the mic, and it was like I was getting these downloads. Like, you know, when people are writing and they say that they're in that flow state and they're writing, and just like they're just getting it. It's like the opposite of writer's block. I would get on the mic and I would just get these downloads, and it was so weird. And I would just start flowing, and like I'd say stuff, and then I would surprise myself and be like, whoa, that was so cool. Like that
being
story.
In the zone.
Yes. And so it was like, no, this is definitely, it's the most powerful thing I feel like I have done creative wise, as far as like versus writing or maybe doing a YouTube thing.
What? For real? So you feel like you really embarked on like your specialty, like, and you feel like it's a lot of it has to do with something you always had and you just didn't pay attention to it like that, right?
I just think it's the easiest, for me, it was the easiest, most natural way to express myself. and get my message across in a way that was the most powerful. Because I had a YouTube channel. I used to do YouTube videos, and it was a lot of work, and it was a lot. I hated editing, and I still don't edit to this day. But I found that it wasn't, like, when I go back and look, like, they were cute, but it wasn't my jam. Like, it wasn't, and it wasn't easy. And this was my thing. Like, this is something where it's easy. I can basically do it wherever, and I have someone to help me edit. So it just, yeah.
Have you been scared about losing your voice? Like, is that a fear of yours? You know, people insure their hair or insure their legs or whatever it is about them that is like very valuable. Do you ever feel like, oh my God, my voice, like, what if I lose it?
No. I think right now, especially even after watching that show that I was telling you about, it's called In the Dark, right? That show is about, you know, a blind woman. And I think my eyesight is the most valuable thing that I have, right? Besides like my cognition. But no, my voice it's dope, but like I don't need it. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather have my eyesight than my voice.
Ain't that valuable? That's funny. Right. So are you only child?
No, I'm the oldest of 4 girls.
Oldest? Hold on. So you've been surrounded by girls your entire life?
That's true.
So no boys in your family? Or
just my dad.
What? Man, that must have been karma for him. Oh, playa. Okay. All right. So you're the oldest of 4 girls, right?
Yep.
And like, how does that work in the dynamic of growing up? Like, is it competition between you and your sisters? Like,
I didn't think it was until like a few years ago. I didn't. I honestly, I tell you, I was in my own little lane. Yeah. And I kind of always have been. I think the issue was like my mom had me when she was young, right? So she was like 20 when she had me, or 19, 20 when she had me. So we kind of, you know, in a sense, grew up together. And so my youngest sister, the very youngest one, she's 12 years younger than me. So when she was born, I was 12. We were living in Texas at the time. And it was different. And then we moved to DC, and, you know, I was taking care of them. I took them to soccer and to, you know, cheerleading, and I took people to the doctor, and I picked everybody up from sleepovers, and I was doing all of the things. So it was a lot. And I think that's one of the reasons why I don't have kids to this day, because it was a lot, you know.
It's daunting. So you're a kind of somewhat a mom, like, to your sister or sisters, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because it wasn't just when I was 12. It was like my entire, right? She was 12, and then I lived at home until I went to Howard, right? So that was until 18. So that's 6 years. I was essentially, and that was just that one sister. So the other sister was 6 years older than her when she was born, right? Because we were all about 3 years apart, except the last 2. So yeah, it was a lot. Definitely. Everybody. Were they
trying for a boy, or they just wanted, you know what I mean? Like, what's the story behind that? Like, man.
I think so, probably. Yeah.
Oh man. So do y'all have your dad like wrapped around his finger? Yeah. No, wrapped around your finger.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, he's definitely one of my favorite people on the planet. I'm not going to lie. But I think because of his military past, you know, he has a solid foundation, and he has, you know, he has really good morals and values, and he instills that, and he can be very strict. You know, I'm a military kid, right? It's not just do whatever. We're not California vibes, like just whatever. No, we had very strict rules. It was very strict in our household. So yeah, but he's definitely one of the coolest people I've ever met.
So y'all moved around from place to place based on the fact that, you know, y'all are a military family. So what are some of the places that you've lived, and how did that affect your ability to like make friends and like, you know, connect with people?
Well, I was born in Massachusetts, and the year that I was born, we were stationed in Alaska. So we went up to Alaska, or over to whatever, went to Alaska, and my other sister was born there. And then we were there for a little bit, moved around in Alaska, and then we went to New York, and we were there for a little bit on a military base that no longer exists, which is kind of interesting to me. And my other sister was born there, and we lived in a few houses, and then we went down to Texas. And we were in Texas, lived in a few houses because there was a wait list to get on base. So we lived off base in 2 homes, and then we got on base. And that's when my last sister was born. And then we went to DC. My dad was stationed at the Pentagon, and nobody was born in DC. That was it. But
Man.
we lived there, and then he retired from the Pentagon when I was at Howard. But they did get a house in Virginia before that. So we mainly stayed in the States. My dad did have to go abroad quite a few times. When we were in New York, he was in Desert Storm, so he went to Egypt. He was in Egypt for a while, and then when we were here, he was in Korea. When I was at Howard, he went to Korea for a year, because it was either you go to Korea by yourself for 1 year or you bring your family for 2 years. And I had just gotten into college, and they had just bought a house, and my grandpa was sick, and so there were all these things were going on. So he just went by himself and was there for a year. And yeah, he traveled quite a bit overseas, but
Yeah. Does it? Because most of the people who moved around a lot always talk about how they're kind of loners. They don't really like connect with people like that. Is that what happened with you?
No, because I was a kid. Like when you're a kid, like it's all about whose birthday party and like who you're sitting next to and like who you're riding the bus with, like sleepovers, like that. Your livelihood is your friendship circle. And so for me, I had to learn how to make friends quickly, because the cycle is, I moved to New York, I meet friends, we hang out, we click, especially if it's on base. And then they get stationed somewhere else because they've been there longer. And then I meet someone new, we become besties, and then it's time for me to go. And that's the cycle. It's you meet, you replace, you leave. You know what I mean? That you meet and then you leave. It's a lot. And so I had to learn how to make friends quickly. And then as I got older, it just became a survival mechanism, because you want to fit in, you want to feel good, and you want to feel connected, and you want to have connections and stuff. So it's like you have to. I mean, you don't have to, but for me, I'm a social person. I used to get in trouble for talking to strangers and taking candy from strangers as a kid. Like that was me.
Taking candy from strangers. That's funny.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of like that too. Yeah, and kind of overly friendly a little bit, and you said hello to everybody. So did you use your voice a lot, like in that way, like, hey, how are you? And they knew that about you when you're young? Oh,
absolutely. My mom was like, why? She was like, why? Because she's not an extrovert, right? She's an introvert. She doesn't do crowds. Like she's very to herself. She does not. Meanwhile, there's me, and I'm like, hey, everybody, how are you? My name is Whitney. What's your name? What's your favorite color? Like that was me from a very young age. Yeah.
Do you, what sign are you?
I'm an Aquarius.
How does that work when it comes to personality and all that?
I mean, I think it just means I'm awesome. I don't know.
Oh, that's fire. Yeah.
I mean, just like one of the best signs, if not the best. And yeah, I don't know. I don't even remember like all the background on Aquarians, but I think it's an air sign. Even though it looks like water, it's an air sign, I think. And yeah, that's all I know.
So what do you see next for you? Like, where do you see your future? Like you're still young doing all this, and you said that you want to like look into like quitting your job, which is going to be a huge leap and scary. So what are your like plans? Like what do you see in your future?
My future, I mean, cars, right? Collecting and travel, right? Once we get this ban, probably get my, I think I still have global entry. So I'm good there. I may get
global entry. What's that?
For traveling, like skipping the line. Like you can. It's like
for
TSA
real?
pre. It's like the fancy version of TSA pre. It's like the global version. It's supposed to work. I don't know if it works in all the airports.
How do you get that? How do you get this platinum access? What's going on?
It's the same as TSA pre, but it's like an extra checkbox. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, but I have it, and I've had it for like, I think it lasts for 10 years. So I think I'm still good on my TSA pre. So my point in saying that was I'm about to travel. I'm about to leave the U.S. for a prolonged period of time, and I'm trying to get out because there are so many places I have not been. And last year I was supposed to go to Barcelona, and I was supposed to go to a couple other places, Madrid and maybe Copenhagen, London. Like I was supposed to do a whole trek because my sister just studied abroad there, and she was like, you have to come, it's going to be great. And I was like, okay, let's go. And then COVID hit. And so I had to renew my passport because it expired in 2020, of course, of all the years. So I got my passport is fresh. It's ready to go, right? My TSA pre, my global, we're good. So I will be abroad because, to be honest, I don't know if I want to live in the States forever. And
the racism? No, I'm playing.
No, it's just like I haven't been able to find, I mean, I guess that's a factor too. because like that's definitely something that keeps me out of Florida. Is that and like old people who are just really aggressive, and then like the tolls, and then I don't like the storms. So like for me, Florida's probably not going to happen, but I do want to have a property someplace. I just don't know where I want that to be. So figuring out where I would want to buy a place and what I would want that to look like, because I would want it to have a big garage. I maybe like, so then it's like, well, if I get a place like that, I might as well go live in like the woods and get like a farm, and then I can have a horse, because that'd be cool. So
you're outdoorsy. That's what you're looking for.
I mean, it'd be nice to have some space to have some space to do whatever I want. And I got all these plants, so I'm trying to hook it up.
You know what a blue zone is? You know what a blue zone is?
Where people live the longest.
Yeah, does that pique your interest, or is that something like eh?
Are there any blue zones in the U.S.?
I think Hawaii is a blue zone, right?
Oh, true. Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm down. I haven't been. Again, like, it's time to travel.
Oh, we're going next month. Me and my wife. Yeah, and guess what? Even crazier. Okay, we really wanted to go to Hawaii. The whole trip total we're gonna be there 4 days, like 5 nights or something like that. Hotel and stay with travel. It's like somewhere around like $700 something. Isn't that crazy? Like someone told my wife about something they saw on Instagram, and they said they couldn't believe it. And then it's like they went ahead and purchased a few trips to different places. And I'll tell you the place. I can't remember the place, but my wife went to it, saw it. Round trip tickets for like both was like $600 or like $500, something low, with a package of you staying at a place that's really nice. And that was like kind of like due to the whole COVID thing. So if you bought it like, in like December or January for a future time, so I can't believe we're going to Hawaii like for super duper cheap. It's just like amazing. I don't want to rub it in or anything, but I mean, it is big.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited. I'm so excited for you.
Yeah. So while we're there, you'll be here. You'll still be in the DMV, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, but there's places to go in DMV, right? There's places to go.
No, there's nowhere to go. We're still.
You didn't tell me what your dream car was, though. You didn't mention what your dream car was.
The dream car. I mean,
I mentioned about the G-Wagon. You mentioned about that and how you thought about that since you've been young. But what was it? What's the car that when you get, you've arrived?
Oof, the car that the G-Wagon is one, because it is the one that I've spec'd out is like, it's like over $170,000, right? It's like almost a $200,000 vehicle. So that's a big one. Mm-hmm. And then I think building a car would be kind of cool. So that Datsun, that'd be kind of dope. And then there's some cars I want, but they don't exist anymore. I've always loved Bugattis, like since before that. I woke up in a new, like before like 15 years before that song came out. Like I was obsessed with Bugattis. So I don't know if I'd ever own one, but like, wow, that's a pretty phenomenal car. There's a bunch. I used to love the Ferrari FF. I'm not really a Ferrari person, but the FF was one of my faves, because it's like the weird one that no one knows about, because it's not like the Italia. It's like the little one that looks like a Bullet that has all-wheel drive, and they don't even make it anymore. You don't
like the 488 or the 458? You don't like?
I mean, I do. For me, I like curves, and I felt like Ferrari just really doesn't give you the curves. That's why Lamborghini, I used to love like the Gallardo a long time ago, but there's no curves in that, and I like that silhouette. So I can't
believe you said Lamborghini. The only Lamborghini I like is the Aventador, and other than that, they're kind of, to me, poorly built.
Yeah, Murcielagos, all those. I mean, they were cool, right? They were cool.
Yes,
they're cool, figurines. But I would definitely never want to own one per se. And the Aventador is cool, I think, because it's one of the newer ones, and because it looks so aggressive. And I love that like aggressive look. But yeah, there's a few Mercedes out there too. And I don't know, I rotate. But
you didn't mention the Defender or anything. You like the Defender?
Yes and no. I don't know.
The new one, not the old one.
I'd have to look to see.
Oh, okay.
You know what I saw on the road the other day?
What?
Speaking of new and old, a Bronco. I think
the
they brought
the new Bronco?
The Bronco back. Yes.
Oh, how you like it? Would you?
I can't, because every time I think of a Bronco, I think of O.J. Simpson and just him barreling down the highway, and I can't take it seriously. I can't even believe that they brought. What's another car that was ruined by someone that you can name? Like I'm really having a hard time thinking of one. And it's like, I saw it on the road and it said Bronco, and I was like, oh my God.
Oh, so you think that you think that it devalues the Bronco given the whole situation with OJ? Because I look at it like it made it iconic.
It made it iconic, but then you don't bring icons back. Okay, icon is where it is. You don't resuscitate an icon. Like leave it alone. Like they could have named it anything else, and just the fact that, and then it doesn't even look. No.
Yeah, well, they brought it back because it's like the trends and things like that, and they put this whole super spec'd out package on it where you could change the doors, you could do this, you could do that. So I don't know if it's just like, I don't really like trends, and I feel like they did that to ride that wave for the trend.
Well, because Jeep is doing so well, right? Jeep is killing it. They're killing it. They've been killing it for a really long time. So I get that.
Since Hitler, right? I'm playing.
I can't with the Bronco. But anyway, I digress. So there's a lot of fun cars out there, and I'm really looking forward. There's this one old Porsche that I want. Actually, I'd love like a BMW X3 from like a really long time ago. I love that silhouette. It's so cute with like the chrome and the roll bars. There's a bunch. I'd also put I'd put a Ducati in my living room just for decoration. And
you'll ride a bike?
I don't know. I don't know if I'd do it. I don't know yet, but I would collect them for sure. I would have them.
Man, that's like me telling my parents I'm about to get me a couple of guns. If I told them I was going to get a motorcycle, they'll look at me like, please, they'll beg, please, Junior, please.
Nobody said I was going to drive it. I just want to look at it.
Because you got some big boss dreams, like for real, like to afford all that and some. Because I own a car wash, and some of our clients have incomes that are like so astronomical it doesn't make sense. Like they literally don't even think about money because they got a few $100 million in the account. So they have literally like 4 G-Wagons, a few Ferraris, a huge 12-car garage. They have the ones where one of them has like 4 entryways, and then it has the circles around. And just looking at the car and the house, everything like that, you're like, okay, that's at least $100K a month, and what they're spending at least, and it's nothing. Like they could care less about it. So you have some like big boss dreams to be like, okay, I want like a Jay Leno garage. We got a lot of work to do right now, I
mean, if we're gonna dream, why not just like do it? You know what I mean? Like why, if we're gonna dream, if we're gonna have goals, why not just like go balls to the wall? Like I skimp on other things in life, right? Like carbs and ice cream, and like why do I need to skimp on dreams? The one thing that I'm out here, you know what I mean? And also it's like when you have a goal, and you've done this before, where you have a goal and you skimp on it, and then you get it, and it's not that exciting because you're like, I mean, I knew I kind of could do this, but it's like when it's something crazy and you start to win and you're like, oh shit, yeah, this actually worked. It feels like so much better. It's so much better of a feeling when you have a goal that you thought or that other people thought may be unattainable, and then you attain it. It's almost like this double entendre of like proving yourself, proving others, and just
it's like a super duper win. Like winning by accident is cool, but winning when you meant to, that's just like reassurance that, okay, I'm on the right path. It's just a reminder that, okay, I'm doing the right things. That's kind of what people need. And I always think about, I always tell people like, do it big or don't do it at all. Some people just say, and it kind of frustrates me a little bit because there's some people who start businesses and they just want to keep it like really small, meek, minuscule, nothing big, just extra, something to pay their phone bill. And I'm like, why not do but I see it a lot with people who do MLMs, and one time these people were arguing with me talking about like, look, I do this, and he patted his pockets like, this pays my phone bill. I was like, what's a phone bill? Like, what's a phone bill? Like the stuff, and I don't want to start telling people, okay, this is where I'm trying to go and this, all that, because obviously that's intimidating and people are going to think like, oh, you think you're better. Right. But it's not about that. It's just being different and knowing like there are no limits to what you want. And if like you said, like if you can envision it, how can it not happen? How?
Well, and if it can happen for the people coming to your car wash, right? You want to talk about being better. Who's to say that those people who have the 4 G-Wagons at your dealership are better than anybody else, or they're more capable than anyone else. And sure, some people are born into it, but there are some people who actually create this, and it's not always about luck. And again, you don't know the odds. When we're born, we don't know the odds of us getting, an autoimmune disease, getting cancer, getting pregnant. We don't know what the odds are going to be for us to win per se. So why go in thinking that we're not going to be on the side that is winning? Right? Why are we just defaulting to assuming that we're not going to get it or that it's not possible, but it's okay for someone else to win? And that's the thing, right? That kind of circles back the conversation to the beginning when we were talking about coaching and seeing these people online winning. And it's like, well, why are they doing it when I know I have something to bring to the table? I know I have something that people want and value. How come they can do it and I can't? There is no reason why they can do it and I can't, right? It's the mentality part that you have to get over. And once you get over it, it's like the world is your oyster.
I keep getting goosebumps with the bars that you're dropping, because you don't usually see this much passion and direction and mindset out of people, because it's a very rare thing. And I'm just so glad, like your parents must be super proud, because, like it's almost a fearlessness of like not holding yourself back. But you talked about Network and Spill, you've been doing that podcast for a while. And for my listeners, right? Like, what is your podcast about, and why is it something that they have to listen to?
Well, my podcast, it's a personal development and professional development show. So we have guests, and I say we, and it's really me and like I guess Chris, my editor, the proverbial we. But yeah, I have people on the show who I really like, literally hand select, and it's just been a really fun journey to have people from various backgrounds from all over the country, really all over the world, come on the show and speak about different topics that they are passionate about. So you hear me talking about what I'm passionate, but imagine me bringing somebody else on the show who's passionate about what they're passionate about. And we're just keying, right? It's a very conversational show just like this. And we're giving advice and input, and we're sharing stories and knowledge. And for me, it's just a phenomenal way to learn about things that are really important to a lot of us who are in the entrepreneurial space, as well as just out here trying to be better versions of ourselves.
Look, we got to lock in. Like, I know y'all are connected right now. I love this conversation. Look, this has been so fun. I want to say before we wrap up, because I want to have you back so we can really just get loose with it, because I want people to get to know who you are. Are there anything, now that we're kind of wrapped up, because I always want to have a good dismount. I don't want to weird dismount. This is such a good wrap to everything. Is there anything that you would maybe finally want to share to anybody who's listening out there now into the future?
I just want y'all to write stuff down. Write it down. Get a cute pen, get a cute notebook, get a nice sticky note, and write stuff down. And it could be a goal, it could be a thought, it could be a vision, it could be someone you want to connect with, it could be a dream you had last night or a dream you want to have tonight. I just say write stuff down. There is power in writing things down and in tracking your whole life.
Look, I know you heard she said it. I really appreciate you all joining us. Love you all. Peace out.
Bye.
And remember that you are what you focus on. Peace.